We didn't manage to change the American position. It's clear that the president has this wish of conquering over Greenland. We made it very, very clear that this is not in the interest of the kingdom. There's a government in Greenland with support from 3/4 of the Greenlandic population. The premier made it very, very clear yesterday that Greenland, for the time being and for foreseeable future, will remain within the kingdom of Denmark. And therefore, this is a common position that we want to work with our American friends and allies, but it must be respectful cooperation, and it must respect the red lines. I would say, and that is probably in comparison to some of the public debate, that the meeting took place in a very constructive atmosphere, where we also had, as I said, the opportunity to at least challenge the narrative presented by the American president. And I think that is a necessity if we want to have a proper debate. And even though there's not an instant threat from China and Russia, at least not a threat we can't accommodate. For instance, Chinese investments, we have avoided that due to close cooperation between Greenland and Denmark. When you saw, like 10 years ago, the Belt and Road Initiative and the idea of Chinese investments in infrastructure in Greenland, we avoided that. So there's no, Chinese present in Greenland, but there's a concern. We have now had like 13 months with this ongoing discussions in social media, because it is not a true narrative that we have, Chinese warships all around the place. According to our intelligence, we haven't had a Chinese warship in Greenland for a decade or so. So from that perspective, it was a very constructive meeting. As I said, frank discussion among equal partners, and now at least we have to give it a try.
During the Cold War, at some stage, they had 17 different military installations and military bases. Now they only have one. They had like 10,000 personnel in Greenland. Now they have around 200. That's not our decision. That's a U.S. decision. And now the situation is entirely different. And of course, we have to respond to this. The big difference is whether that must lead to a situation where U.S. acquire Greenland, and that is absolutely not necessary. I mean, we have the long-lasting diplomatic relation, the longest-lasting diplomatic relation with U.S. that any U.S. ally has, 225 years in a row.
The Foreign Minister of Greenland, she said a while ago in a press conference in an embassy of Denmark that she made very clear in the meeting that happened here in the White House what are their limits. She also said that it was a very respectful meeting. Are those limits going to be respected?
Well, we're going to see what happens with Greenland. We need Greenland for national security, so we're going to see what happens. They're going to brief me on the meeting right after this conference. In fact, the sooner I get you out, the faster I'm going to know exactly what happened. But we have a very good relationship with Denmark, as you know. We'll see. But, we're doing the Golden Dome. We're doing a lot of things, and we really need it. If we don't go in, Russia's going to go in, and China's going to go in. And there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it, but we can do everything about it.
There's no more than what they can do that.
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, we're going to see what happens, but we need it. I'm not the first one. This was talked about by President Truman, and 40 years before President Truman, they were talking about it. They've been talking about this for 100 years. This is not anything so new. A lot of people don't realize that, but this was a hot subject. Probably not as hot as it is now, but it was a hot subject for a long time. We need it for national security, and that includes for Europe. And I spoke with, as you know, Mark, the head of NATO, and he really wants to see something happen.
It's being reported that Health and Human Services released frozen funds to Planned Parenthood. I'm wondering why this happened and why Planned Parenthood is receiving any federal funds.
I don't know anything about it. Bobby, do you know anything about it?
What was the question?
It's being reported that frozen funds were released to Planned Parenthood in December by HHS. I'm wondering why that happened.
I haven't heard
have
that.
not heard that.
I have not heard that.
Mr. President,
Mr. President.
on NATO, right now, it sounds like you are saying that you would potentially acquire Greenland by force. That would be a NATO country.
You're
united.
saying that.
Are you saying that? Would you do that?
No,
by
you're
force?
saying that.
Would you
I
acquire
didn't
them by
say
force
that.
right
You're
now?
telling me that that's what I'm going
I
to
think
do.
we're-
You don't know what I'm going to do.
So what are the options?
Your
then?
network
Because
doesn't know either.
the Danish foreign minister said that there are still fundamental differences after the meeting with Rubio and with the vice president. Are you willing to leave the NATO alliance in order to get what you want with Greenland? What are the options right
Well, I
now?
wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do, certainly. I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland is very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is, there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. You found that out last week with Venezuela. There's everything we can do about things such as that. Not going to happen. We're not, I can't rely on Denmark being able to fend themselves off. They were talking about they put an extra dog, and they were serious about this. They put an extra dog sled there last month. They added a second dog sled. That's not going to do the trick.
Denmark fought alongside the United States in both Afghanistan
Thank you
and
for telling
Iraq.
me that. I appreciate it.
But
I have a very good relationship
they're
with
an
Denmark,
ally of
and
the
we'll see how it
United
all
States.
works out. I think something will work out.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.